Hey everybody, I'm JJ. You're watching Reality Survival, and today we have a guest with us. This is Drew Miller, the CEO of Fortitude Ranch. So before I get going here, I want to just give you guys a second while we're letting some people roll into the stream. If you guys can let me know if you can hear us okay, that would be awesome. I would like to let you know about our app. If you haven't heard about it yet, it's the American Prepping Academy app. And this is a collaborative app between about 15 different prepper channels. It is free. It does not collect any personal information. And we're always looking for more prepper channels on here as well. And what it does, the whole purpose of this app is to notify you if somebody, one of these channels puts out a video so that you can go and watch the video and comment on it and all that kind of stuff. So you can get it on iPhone and Google, and just go ahead and give it a shot while you're waiting for this thing to get started. You can download it right now. Then I also want to let you know about our Substack. It's realitysurvival.substack.com. We do monthly giveaways over there for the paid subscribers. Have a monthly prize of anywhere from $100 to $150 per month. And we've already had several people win twice. So I think last month we only had 16 entries. We've got quite a few more paid subscribers now. We got like 70 paid subscribers or something, but a lot of people are just supporting the channel, just to help out. And so you got pretty good odds of winning over there. So go check that out. It's realitysurvival.substack.com. That's also where I share out all my videos and all that kind of stuff. It's sort of the hub for everything Reality Survival. So Drew, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Very good, JJ. Thanks for the honor of being on your program.
Absolutely, absolutely. So why don't you take this time and maybe tell us a little bit about your background and who you are, where you came from, and how you got started with Fortitude Ranch.
Thanks. Well, I'm a retired Air Force intelligence officer, and so as a result, I've always been watching threats. And remember, after the Soviet Union fell and there was a peace dividend and everyone thought peace was breaking out, I said, you're out of your mind. With all the new technologies coming from nanotechnology to bioengineering to artificial intelligence, and the list keeps getting bigger, the odds of a collapse are just going to keep going up. So been a prepper for a long time and figured out that, if I'm going to try to survive on my own, I had a place in Colorado. I decided I'm just going to get myself killed because I can't do guard duty 24/7. And really, you need a lot of guards on duty all the time to have security. And as marauder groups get bigger over time, and they may be big from the start, it takes a big group of people. We estimate it takes at least 50 people minimum for a survival community. So I started looking at survival communities, and they've existed for a long time, and they're overwhelmingly on a volunteer basis, and they tend to fall apart. There's just so many things to argue over that some other preppers and I came up with the idea for Fortitude Ranch. And we're basically a business, kind of like a country club membership model. You pay an upfront fee to join, and when you come out, we're dual purpose, and I don't know anyone else in the survival industry that's like this, but in good times, we're a recreational facility. Come out to vacation, hike, enjoy nature. But when the shit hits the fan, we turn into survival community staff. That's why I got this uniform. Staff is in charge. Almost all of us are former military. And we run the place, keep it going. But the strength of Fortitude Ranch is our members. Having lots of members. The full-time staff there allows us to have the animals, the chickens, the sheep, the other things. And then the ability to garden. So if it's a really long collapse, a grid down scenario, a bad, real pandemic, we can go for at least a year, arguably with sustainable gardening and farming, several years to survive most anything. So that's what Fortitude Ranch is about. We're a place to survive a collapse, have fun and good times, and then we're affordable because of economies of scale, having so many people in it. And we're up to 7 locations now, and we're franchising now, so we can expand a lot faster with more locations.
So 7 locations. Whereabouts are those located? Where do you have those?
Starting from the west, they're in Nevada, Colorado, Texas, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Tennessee, and New York. We've got a franchise coming in Arizona for sure, and it's a couple other locations as well. So our goal is to have dozens. And the nice thing is, you'll have a home fort. So if I'm a member of Fortitude Ranch, Colorado, I store my stuff there. I've got my room there. But if I'm up in Maine when the shit hits the fan, and I don't think I can make it back to Colorado, I can go to Fortitude Ranch, New York, and it's not New York City, it's in the Catskills.
Yeah.
And I can take refuge in Fortitude Ranch, New York. And the same thing for vacationing. Like right now, you probably don't want to go to Fortitude Ranch, Texas. It's pretty hot. Fortitude Ranch, Wisconsin, on the other hand, is a lakefront resort. Just wonderful temperature, great place to be in the summer. So you can vacation at any location, but more important, you can survive at any location. So, your daughter could be, at school out in California. She could go to Fortitude Ranch, Nevada and survive there if she can't get back to, your East Coast location.
Okay. So break it down a little bit more on like, how do these memberships work? Are you buying a piece of property or are you leasing, or how does that all work?
It's a country club membership model. So you don't own any land, you don't buy anything, you don't own any equity in the company. You pay an upfront fee to join like you would to join a country club, and then there's quarterly dues and an annual food restocking fee. So you're a guest, and when you come out to vacation, we treat you like a guest. We don't perform and sing songs around the campfire for you. You wouldn't want to hear me doing that. But we show you what are the fun things to do in the area. You get you checked into your room, and so it's a vacation place, kind of like a rural country club, rustic rural country club. But again, most people join us not for the recreational value. You can vacation for up to 2 weeks at any location for free as you join, but most people are joining because of what we do in a collapse situation. We turn into survival community, and we warn our members, definitely not vacationing then. For the first month especially, it'll be pretty much full-time waking hours work. We got to cut down trees, stack them into our defensible walls. I use the word hunting, the honest word is poaching. We're killing every edible creature that we can get a hold of.
You mean after the SHTF, right?
Correct. Yeah. After that has occurred, when laws are gone, we're shooting everything you could possibly eat. And remember I said we're cutting down the trees for walls. So we got all those branches and stuff. We're burning those on a fire, and we're making jerky out of the meat. In Texas, it's going to be some wild boar that will get deer pretty much everywhere. And so we're doing that work. We're gardening. It's a lot of work. Every member does, guard duty. Someone like you'd probably be on guard duty at night. Someone with really good skills. You'd be on guard duty at night at a guard station where we think the marauders are most likely to come from that direction. If you're not a great guard, not great shooting ability, that's fine. You're still everyone to serve guard duty. So you'd be a guard during the day. And it could be that we don't even need to man that post because there's people out there gardening and working. But our rule is, in a collapse, every member must carry a weapon at all times, no exceptions. And everyone will serve guard duty. We want every guard post manned every second of the day, because smart marauder groups aren't just going to come, stumbling in on you. They're going to look at you, scout you out to make the decision of, are they going to attack, kind of plan the attack. And we want the marauder group observers to report back that, holy cow, they got 100 plus people here. Every one of them has a weapon all the time. They've got 6 guard posts. They're manned 24/7, and there's clearly some chief of watch, moving around in between them. They got cleared lines of fire, defensive walls. We're going to get slaughtered attacking these people, because we don't want to get in a firefight. Our goal is to deter marauders, have them look at us and say, no way in hell they're going after us. They're going after the easy targets.
So you're trying to make yourself a hard target so they move on someplace else.
Absolutely. Yeah. You cannot hide in a collapse. I mean, a lot of people say, I'm going to bury a shelter in my backyard and hide out. Good luck. I mean, sooner or later you got to have electricity. In a collapse, it's going to be fairly quiet. If you run a generator, I'm going to hear it. I'll probably feel it, and I'll definitely smell it. So you cannot hide in a collapse. You have to be able to defend yourself on the surface, or you'll be overrun. And you could have the greatest blast door in the world on your shelter. If you don't defend your air vents, all I got to do is marauders cover up your air vents, and you're dead if you don't come out.
So it looks like we got a question from a member in the audience. Utah Mike says, what is your definition of SHTF? So what does that look like for you? We're
tracking we call them trigger events. We're tracking over 50 trigger events, and they keep growing over time. I mean, we've been around for a decade. I didn't have a Civil War collapse, worry 10 years ago. I do now. So we track trigger events, but really to us, it doesn't really matter. Anything that could cause a collapse, and I define the collapse as the economy is largely not functioning, and widespread loss of law and order. So whatever triggers that, that's a collapse, that's an SHTF event. We'll contact our members, and then we'll contact them via the Collapse Survivor app that I was just talking to you about. We got the logo up there for it. That gives you threat alerts of what's going on, real threat alerts, preparedness news items too. But we'll contact our members via that. They come out to Fortitude Ranch. And as I said, whatever triggered the event to us almost doesn't matter. I'm still putting up defensive walls because I've got a marauder threat under any situation. I'm still, poaching, getting every bit of extra food I can get at the same time. There's different procedures. Certainly if there's a pandemic, we control people coming in where you are. And I want to stress, we're not a big facility where everyone's together. We do have shallow underground shelters, shallow for two reasons. Number one, by the way, my PhD dissertation was in underground nuclear defense shelters and field fortifications for NATO troops. So I know that you could detonate a 15 kiloton, that's Hiroshima-sized nuclear weapon, right above me. If I've got 3 feet of earth, that's all I need. Blast wave isn't going to harm me. The radiation will be eaten up by that 3 feet of earth. So you don't need to be deep underground. If you're in an ICBM silo, that's because that was designed to protect against, 20 megaton nuclear weapons that penetrate and then go boom. You don't need that in a remote location like we locate. So we're designed to deal with any kind of collapse scenario there is. So SHTF, you name the scenario, we can survive it. We're confident.
So what are your guys' protocols for those situations that are not like entirely, a trigger event, but yet maybe there's really bad civil unrest in your area and you've paid into the ranch and you want to come, get away from that or something? How do you handle something like that?
Several ways. First of all, again, you get 2 weeks of free vacation anytime. So if you're concerned about something come out, you also can use us as a member if you have a very local collapse or even just your house burns down. If your house burns down, we have a lot of members in California who are joining because they're concerned about earthquakes, things that are very local, or a fire in California that wipes out their town. We're seeing more and more of that. They're welcome to come to Fortitude Ranch and do that. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm having a storm right now. I don't know if you hear that in the background or not.
No, I can't hear it.
We're in a big storm here right now. So if something local happens, you absolutely can go to Fortitude Ranch and take shelter there, even if it's not what we have declared to be a collapse event.
Gotcha. And let's say that event exceeds the 2-week period or something like that. Do you have a way to extend that or to pay for more, or how does that work?
Well, again, if it's a collapse event, when we've declared a big disaster, it's irrelevant. You stay for the duration of the collapse. Could be years. You're obviously not going to pay member dues. Who cares about that? We're focused on staying alive. If it's a personal event, like your house is down, we would have no trouble with you staying longer. We just don't want to have, 20, 30 people show up at once and it becomes a distraction. But for an individual member, yes, you can use us as an emergency for a local event or even a personal disaster with your house.
Okay. So then when it's a trigger event, does your dues include purchasing food? Do you guys cover food and that kind of thing? Or how does that all work?
Yeah, and there's a lot of detail. If you go to fortranch.com, there's a lot of detail, especially on the food section. So, of course, we stockpile food, but the more important thing is our ability to grow food. So every location has chickens. I know there's a big debate between chickens and rabbits, which are best. We're kind of on the chicken side, although Fort Ranch, Tennessee is leaning towards the rabbits. And then we have other animals, too, depending on the location. Nevada, for example, we've got sheep and cattle. Texas, we're sheep. And we have a llama. We have a llama at Texas, a guard llama. The Dalai Lama is at Fort Ranch, Texas. And, of course, chickens. But our goal is to be able to farm and to be able to ranch. And, you know this, I'm pretty sure, and most preppers who've done their homework know it as well. The 3 most important crops, and this is really important for people who aren't aware of this, 3 most important things you want to grow are, number 1, my favorite is Jerusalem artichoke. And that ought to be planted now. It's a perennial. It spreads like a weed. It's very high calories per acre, and it's treated like a weed, unfortunately, in some areas because it does spread and grow. It looks like a sunflower. It's not an ugly plant, but that is a fantastic survival plant. Number 2 is corn, and I'm not talking the people's sweet corn. You can grow that if you want, but for, again, calories per acre, staying alive, it's field corn. So our locations, we've got the big, they're basically, every bag is about 2 acres of corn that you can plant with that. You have to grind it up. It's not, the sweet, tasty corn. You grind it up and use in food. But for calories per acre, corn is winner. And the third one is potatoes, either sweet potatoes or white potatoes. And that's just, I tell people the biggest barrier to prepping is government. Nothing makes it more difficult, more expensive, harder to do. And it's hard to get not just antibiotics, but so many things that you need. The zoning regulations, the building codes, the big state governments, and here I'm talking Nevada, California, all these places where Democrats rule the state government, and as a result, even rural conservative counties are being forced into zoning and building codes and tons of regulations. So getting a bug out location, it's no longer cheap. They're making it so expensive, many regulations. And so like the potato seeds that we've got, I'm not going to get into details, but we had to go through some extraordinary measures to get that because of all the regulatory crap. But we've got potato seed for acres. You cannot buy that. We had to do some special jumping through hoops that I can't go into details on to be able to stockpile true potato seed. As you know, most people plant potatoes from tubers. Well, you can't store those long term. That's kind of a pain. We had to go through tremendous work getting around government regulations to stockpile large quantities of true potato seed. But those are your 3 crops. So our goal is we can garden sustainably, we can raise ranch animals, and we've got the manpower. We've got a lot of manpower to do it, to not just keep the marauders at bay with guards, but to do work, to grow and ranch and garden and to last long term. So we guarantee at least a year of food, but the answer is our real goal is that we can go for several years by farming and ranching.
Okay. And so that guarantees you a year of food. Is that for, I don't know how your memberships go. Is that like a family of 4, or is that just single person, or do you kind of stack on, or how does it?
Yeah, the prices vary. The price list is on our website, fortranch.com, but the pricing varies by, of course, size of family, and then what kind of accommodations do you want. We've got really low cost Spartan shared space, which is basically a bunk bed, and you lock your stuff up in a box. Most people tend to get either a Spartan private room or an economy room or a luxury room. There you've got a private room. You can put your lock on the door and store your stuff in your room.
Gotcha. And then what's the rough price range, the bottom and the top? Like what is that?
Anywhere from an upfront payment of like $2,000 plus per person to join, and then about $1,000 per person a year thereafter for the quarterly dues and the food restocking fee, to if you want a luxury room with the private toilet and you got a family of 4 or 5 people, it might be $25,000 down payment and then about $1,500 to $2,000 per person per year. So we've got a price for the middle class. That's kind of our goal. If you want, and that's not a luxury accommodations. It's nice in the luxury. It's pretty Spartan in the Spartan stuff. If you want really luxury competition pricing and lodgings, you want to go survival condo. That's absolutely gorgeous. It's like being in a 5-star hotel underground. But it's $1.5 million for your condo there, and then a lot of money for your monthly condo fee. We're designed to be affordable for the middle class, and it's especially affordable if you take advantage of the vacation. I'm in Colorado right now. If you want to rent a cabin in Colorado for your family, for a week, you're going to spend more on that than you would for your Fortitude Ranch fees for the year. So if you plan your family vacations around, going up to the lake in Wisconsin for the summer, coming to the mountains of Colorado, wherever you want to go, we're in the high mountain desert in Nevada, beautiful forest areas in West Virginia, New York, and Tennessee. Plan your family vacation around it. You stay for free at the Fortitude Ranch location. That's how you can really make Fortitude Ranch affordable.
That makes sense. So what's the structure like within the organization? Is it a democracy or a monarchy, or how does that break down as far
It's
as?
a business. So again, it's like a country club. When you join a country club, your opinion matters, but it's a business. We're in charge. So it's not a timeshare. There's no voting. There's no ownership, and we're in charge. Now, I said the first month when it collapses and you come, we're going to work your ends off. After that, there'll be some free time. So we'll encourage members to form private clubs, religious meetings, history book club, every Tuesday afternoon at 3:00. And we can adjust guard schedules, things like that. So if there's something you really want to go to, we won't schedule you for guard duty or meal cooking duty or wood collection duty. There's a lot of work teams that we have to keep running all the time. But basically, staff's in charge. Members can do what they want in terms of social groups and religious groups, things like that. That's up to them.
Gotcha. So let's look at the threats that you think are on the horizon. What are your top 3 things that you think, are likely to occur, and what's your timeline?
Anytime. I mean, I'm surprised H5N1 hasn't already hit as a human contagious virus. The gain of function research, you read about it with COVID-19. Long before that, we did your government funded gain of function research to make avian flu transmissible between mammals, and they were successful. This was 10 years ago, and they published how to do it in open source press. Incredible.
Lovely.
So Al Qaeda, North Korea, I am not telling you intelligence. I'm telling you, I'm 99% confident that pretty much every bad organization or nation state in the world knows how to make H5N1, which is like 60% lethal now in most people. They can make it human transmissible. They could start a pandemic. So I think that Putin, with the situation in Russia, he's either going to use tactical nuclear, battlefield nuclear weapons, or he's going to release a bioagent in the US and West Europe that'll put us into a pandemic where there's no way in hell we're going to be aiding Ukraine. We're going to be trying to stay alive. So I think Russia's going to do something with the bad situation they got in Ukraine. I've been saying that before, this latest embarrassing excursion where the Ukrainians are now advancing into this Kursk region and just making Putin look like an idiot. The guy wants to stay alive. I think he'll use nuclear weapons or release a bio attack. And a lot of people are concerned about civil war. I doubt it will happen that way. I mean, there are a lot of experts like Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater. Many people think the smartest man alive today. He's made his living predicting what's going to happen with his hedge fund and making money. He's predicted a 30% plus chance of civil war after this election. But even if there's not, we're going to be divided after the election. We know that. That's like 95% sure. That's the perfect time for Russia to use nuclear weapons, for China to invade Taiwan, Iran to get revenge for our continued support of Israel, you name it. So I'm most worried about bioengineering, a deliberate release of a bio attack by Ukraine or Iran or North Korea, or a nuclear attack. And the nuclear attack could even be North Korea. North Korea does not need a lot of nuclear weapons. They don't need large yield, and they don't need accuracy. All they have to do is put a nuclear weapon up high in our atmosphere, and our grid is toast. It'll be down for well over a year. And this is not information I have as an intelligence officer. This is open source. It's been published in newspapers. Russia helped North Korea design nuclear weapons optimized to have maximum EMP output, not thermal radiation, not blast wave, EMP. And that's what they want to do.
They also already have 2 satellites in orbit.
Yep.
Which we don't really know what the payload of those satellites are. And if they're in low Earth orbit, then it wouldn't take much.
So North Korea could destroy the United States today. A puny little nation like North Korea could take us down with an EMP attack, and they know that. So those are the things that worry me the most. But as I said, we track over 50 threats, and I've studied history a lot. My honest answer, if someone asked me what's it likely to be, the honest answer would be say probably something I'm not thinking about right now, because that's kind of the lessons of history. Is usually it's something you're not expecting. It is a surprise. It's a black swan event is what takes you down. But again, for us, it really doesn't matter what the trigger event is. We're designed to survive a collapse no matter what causes it.
Very cool. Now, as far as I'm just thinking logistics here, people get out to your place and all that kind of thing. Are they expected to arm themselves? Are you guys providing arms for guard duty and that kind of thing? Or how does that all shake out?
We ask our members to have at least a weapon per person, and we recommend you really have two, because if you're out on, I thought I brought my pistol out here. If you're out on guard duty,
don't show the pistol.
But you're out doing guard. I can't show it. Okay.
No, don't show that, because YouTube you'll take us down.
Okay.
For showing
I won't grab it.
During a
So
live
if you're out
stream.
doing gardening work, for example, rather than having an AR slung over your shoulder, it's nice to have the 9mm on your side.
Sure.
So our members do have weapons. Of course, we have staff weapons too, but the answer is largely most of our weapons are made up from our members, and you can store them on site or you can bring them out in a collapse. We have vaults and places to store weapons.
So what is your guys' interaction like with local law enforcement and that kind of thing, like getting them to understand what your purpose is and who your members are and all that kind of stuff? I mean, if you present incorrectly to some law enforcement these days, it can cause a lot of scrutiny and that kind of thing. And I'm sure you guys are probably doing it right, but what is your philosophy there, and how are you trying to work with them?
We generally try to stay off the radar, so we don't have signs up. Nothing identifies as Fortitude Ranch, so we do not depend for our security on being secret. If you survive a collapse, eventually a marauder group's going to find you, just stumbling onto you, if nothing else. In terms of contacting law enforcement, it varies by our location. In most cases, we don't do it. Eventually, they'll figure out who we are and ask us, or they can just go on the web. There's information about Fortitude Ranch all over the internet, and it's absolutely clear that we are strictly a defensive, protecting our own property. So I'm not anti-militias by any means. I think the vast majority of militia groups in the U.S. are outstanding, but we are very careful not to come off as an offensive militia group that goes out and patrols. We're staying on our property. We've got enough property to farm and ranch. A lot of times we're located next to public forests where we can, collect firewood and hunt there in a collapse. But, we don't go out and do any offensive patrolling or military actions. We're strictly defensive. So if law enforcement looks into Fortitude Ranch, there's all kinds of publicity on us, and it's clear that we're strictly a defensive survival community, not anything that would get us on their radar and get anyone concerned. We do have a lot of members who are from intelligence agencies, Homeland Security, and law enforcement. So, we're not secret. We're definitely known, and don't get into trouble.
Sure. So what's your vetting process like, or is there one, or how do you guys select members and those kinds of things so that you know that you're not getting some bad apples in the group or whatever?
We have a long interview process. So it starts with sales staff. When you talk to us, contact us, we're talking to you. And then when you come out for the tour, you're checking us out and the ranch manager, and we're doing the same thing for you. So it's mainly a verbal thing. I've had bad luck with background checks. My experience with background checks is they generally don't find stuff. I've been amazed. Even in a county where the person was currently on probation, we ran a background check, didn't find that out, even in the county. So I found that background checks don't work very well. To us, the most important thing is to meet them, talk with them, and get to understand them. And our members are overwhelmingly former military or intel, business professionals, really good folks. We do occasionally reject folks, and it's largely for the reason is, how do I explain this? Occasionally on a tour, you run into someone who's just really annoying.
Sure.
It's an hour tour, and you're thinking, my God, I wish this would get over with soon. And that kind of person, you say, the last thing in the world I want is to be spending a year or more in close quarters with this person. So we generally don't pursue membership with them. And this reminds me, this is one of the questions we'll get a lot on tours is, what happens if a member is there and there's some other member they just absolutely can't hate? That JJ guy, he's always whistling, driving me crazy. Sure. I can't stand that JJ guy. So we tell people, all you got to do is come to staff quietly and tell us, JJ is driving me crazy. I can't stand being around the guy. So that's no problem, because we control your schedule. We control when you do guard duty, when you've got your meal duty, or, clinic duty, if you've got a medical background. That's an important thing I should mention. We have clinics and a lot of doctors in our membership. So we can just schedule it so they'll never see JJ. Not that you're JJ, this is JJ.
Yeah.
They'll never see that person again. And our members are overwhelmingly really good Americans, good people. And, if someone was bad in a collapse, was a problem, staff would counsel them, hey, you got to stop doing, behavior X.
Right.
And if they keep doing it, we'll finally get to the point where we say, look, next time you do behavior X, that's it. The walls are to keep bad guys out, not to keep you in. And we're going to cancel your membership. And, you'll wake up in the morning and with orders to get your stuff and leave. You can no longer be a member. But I think I am 90, I don't know all of our members, obviously, with the locations we've got, but we're really, really pleased with our members. They're great Americans and people we want to survive the collapse. And that's our big goal. Our mission is to keep our members alive. And if we don't, our concern is after a collapse, the big survivors are going to be number one, marauders, and number two, potentially worse, politicians and top government officials. I'm serious.
That's definitely
because they've got Mount Weather, they've got Sidar, Raven Rock, they've got all these facilities to keep the top government officials and the top career politicians alive. And I don't want them to survive and then marauders to survive, and there's no good middle class Americans like us to survive.
Sure. So we got some questions here in the chat. They're asking, what about medical, power generation, and fuel storage?
So we have got clinics at every facility, and we've got a lot of doctors and specialists. That's the most important thing. We don't have great anesthesiology. It's not a surgical room. So I'm honest with members. If you get shot in the wrist, we're probably going to have to amputate there. We can't do microsurgery and put your hand back together in a collapse. And we've got whiskey as our anesthesiology. I hate to say it, but it's going to be a lot like Civil War medicine. But we do have the antibiotics. It'll be better than that, but it'll be pretty barbaric in terms of that for medicine. For power, we have three important operating principles at Fort Ranch. Number one is respect Murphy's Law. Assume that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Number two is KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And number three is adapt, which is, a military principle. So now let's consider energy. Our number one energy source is wood stoves. That's how we heat, that's how we cook, and they don't break, and we got plenty of firewood at all our locations. We can keep them going forever. So we have solar power too, yes, usually multiple systems. Fort Ranch, Nevada, by the way, is completely off the grid. Always off the grid. So we've got great solar systems there, lots of them, and we're testing a wind generator out there at Fort Ranch, Nevada now too. We have propane generators. We've got the little gas generators, but propane generators are much, much better. We've got 1,000-gallon propane tanks. Most houses are going to have a 250, maybe a 500. We've got 1,000-gallon tanks and not a lot of use, and then the propane company is told to keep them topped off. So we've got propane generators. They generally will integrate with our solar system so that the batteries get drawn down. It turns the generator on to keep the system charged. So that's our major power source. It's wood stoves. We do have electrical generation. If every solar system, every generator failed, no one's going to die. We don't have to have the electricity. We want to have it. We don't have to have it. Now I'm looking at our ham radio here. We've got ham radio and HF radio. I do need electricity for that, and that's what we've got, the electric systems. But for survival, we don't have to have this. And by the way, the other reason we like our HF radio is back to that medical reason. So we've got on average of we have too many doctors Texas. We have too many doctors in Nevada. In Texas, we have like 4 of them now. I don't need 4 doctors, but doctors specialize so much nowadays that, it could be that you're in Nevada, but you really need something that you don't know, your doctors there don't know, but our Fort Ranch, Wisconsin doctors do know. So we have times of the day, every day, just for an hour where we're going to come up on a set frequency that's in our operations manual, and we'll try to connect at that time. We're never going to get all our stations on at once on one frequency. That's never going to happen. But Nevada, in this case, might be able to reach Fort Ranch, Tennessee. Then Tennessee can reach Wisconsin, and so they can relay back and forth or leave a message for the Wisconsin specialist to get the information back to the Nevada doctor. The other reason, some medical reason for HF. The other reason is, again, the example I gave earlier, your daughter's in California, can't get back to the home fort where her parents are. Well, you'll be able to talk periodically on HF radio when we connect.
Sure.
So we don't have to have electricity for survival, but it's awful nice to have. And so we've got a lot of ways to make energy.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. Got a question in the chat here. David Bladen says, can I bring my RV and find a campsite?
Yeah, we have RV membership, and it's the cheapest. I should have mentioned that earlier. I'm sorry. We have RV membership, too, and it's the cheapest way to join because we don't have to build a building for you. So we have RV memberships that all our locations do. Now, Wisconsin is a former RV resort. It has the full hookups. Most of our RVs is boondocking. We'll get you electricity. When you want water, we run a hose, you fill up your tank. So it's not the full service RV, but it's absolutely good survival RV setups.
And what do those memberships run?
I would say, depending on the length of time, that's the other factor of membership. You can also buy 10, 25, 50-year memberships. So I'm doing this off the top of my head. I think you can get an RV membership for a family of 3 for probably about $3,000 down for like a 25-year membership. And then you'll pay, about $1,000+ a year in quarterly dues. I'm guessing that I'm a little bit off. Again, that is on our website. Remember,
you said about $1,000 a year, and so that would be $250
in ongoing fees. Yeah, correct.
$250
roughly that.
Okay, so that's not bad.
Now, again, we want it to be affordable for the middle class, and then we need people to survive too. I mean, we want to have, we say 50 is the absolute minimum number of survival community needs, because you got to keep a lot of guards on duty at night. I mean, if you and I are the only 2 guards on duty at night, that means a marauder group of just 2 people could destroy us if they've got skills. All they're going to do is they're going to watch you, and they're going to figure out, hey, there's only 2 guys on duty at 3 o'clock in the morning. So they get outside, they with walkie-talkies, they line up their shots. They say, you're ready? So am I. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They shoot at the same time. Both guards are now dead. Someone inside the house might hear that there was a gunshot that, they startle awake. They don't hear anything now. It's quiet. They tend to go back to bed. So the 2 marauders, they're just, nothing happens for the next 15 minutes. They now go into the house and everyone's sleeping. If you're lucky, they just steal from you. If you're unlucky, they go around room to room stabbing people and killing them before they rob you.
Yeah. And let's see. I think we have one more here on the questions. I think you kind of already covered this. So what's the plan for a game that you harvest if you don't have electrical, like refrigeration, I guess is kind of what he's referring
jerky.
to.
We're making jerky. Again, so when we chop down trees to clear lines of fire at the start, we got all these branches and wood. We're going to, why is my battery level low?
Battery's low.
Plugged in and my power's on. That's odd. It shouldn't be.
Uh-oh. Well, we might need to wrap it up then.
That doesn't make sense because I'm plugged in and have power according to this. Yeah, I have 70% available. I don't understand that. Unless it's my camera battery. Oops. I'll keep talking while I'm figuring this out, hopefully.
No worries.
Or actually, I can just switch camera settings here. So what I was saying is for games, we're mainly making jerky out of it as our plan. I see a question about water for Arizona and Nevada. Nevada actually has one of our best water supplies. We have 5 springs. We have year-round water from Nevada. Great water there. We've got, one thing I want to mention, especially I'm going to get cut off due to a bad camera battery.
It's the NSA coming in.
Is that the Collapse Survivor app gets a lot of good information out. We have real threat alerts on. We did a real threat alert in May, for example. Some experts were estimating there was a 10% chance that solar flare in May could have taken down the electric grid. Government gave no warning on that. We did. We said it's a 10% chance. It's a low chance, but you ought to be aware of that. And we did that. And when, there's a pandemic that starts to spread, we will put out an alert early to let you know that, hey, it looks like there may be a pandemic spreading. Government alerts are going to come out later. They want to be 100% sure. They want you to, always have confidence government's taking care of you. So it's important that you get this app for real threat warnings. And then we would love to get some links from some of your videos. We've got a media section with some videos on prepping, some of the best stuff for prepping.
Sure.
And then we do weekly training exercises, simulations on the Collapse Survivor app that are a lot of fun as well.
Okay. Was the COVID-19, was that a trigger event for you guys? Did you guys have anybody show up for that, or how did that go for you?
I'm really proud of that. It was not a trigger event, and we called it right from the very get-go. What we did is, I'm going to try plugging this in somewhere else so I can get some power going here. Nope, that won't reach. What we did is, oh, there I can plug in. We looked at some reports on the COVID-19 lethality rate, and what we found was that it was going to be way under 1%. Mm-hmm. And so we issued a notice to our members. I said, COVID-19 is not the big pandemic we've been warning about. The lethality rate is probably going to be on the order of maybe 0.1%, really, really low. So people are still going to go to work. Yeah. Stores are going to operate. This is not going to be the collapse we've been warning about. This is not a bad pandemic. And we were exactly right about that. And we made that call within, the first week of the news on COVID-19 spreading. So I'm pretty proud about that. We called it correctly. We're not fear mongering. Our goal is to get good information out. It may be a low 5% chance of some disaster occurring. We'll tell you that. The best estimate is it's a 5 to 10% chance that this solar flare or this event could happen, which could lead to a collapse, just so you're aware of it.
Yep. Now, how many folks do you guys have on your intel team that are watching these threats and that kind of thing?
Quite a few. Some of them are still on duty, so I can't give you their names. But gotcha. Most of them are former intel like myself. Some are still active. We've got some folks who are adjunct members who are in Homeland Security. So a pretty big source. We also have members that provide a lot of great information, but the major thing is we're watching sources. So for example, the solar weather, we watch that. We look at not just CDC and WHO, but there's some other early warning reports on pandemics. Some stuff's proprietary because we also do a little bit of consulting for some small hedge firms to give them some advance notice of stuff that just isn't going to make the media. And then we do watch media as well too. As you know, most intelligence information is open source. It's not overhead imagery. It's not spies. It's largely open source information. Mm-hmm. So we track all of that.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it looks like we're having a hard time with the camera. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about? I know we can point people to the, what is it called? The
Collapse Survivor
app. And then they can also go to fortituderanch.com. Mm-hmm. And I think you're at Fortitude Ranch on X as well.
Yes.
Okay. And do you guys have a YouTube channel as well? Or
we do. Fortitude Ranch and Collapse Survivor do as well. Okay. And if you Google, you'll find them. I haven't memorized all the stuff. It's on my background that no longer is showing up here. Cool. I can say, you know what? I can just switch my camera here. Oh, there we go. This should bring me back. Yeah, there I am.
There you are.
Okay. The easiest solution didn't go for. But the Collapse Survivor app is, it's free for 30 days, 99 cents a month. We priced it to basically, cover our costs. It's a super cheap app to give you real threat warnings, preparedness news. Like some of our recent preparedness news items, for example, we did an update on the monkeypox virus. Not a threat at this point, but bears watching. Another preparedness news item is, not sleepwalking, but pandering into World War III. Elon Musk made that warning a couple months ago. Yeah. And you can just see it in this excursion now with Ukraine into Russia. Mm-hmm. Why are they doing that? It's not just to draw off troops. Ukraine, for their rational reasons and good reasons from their point of view, wants to get NATO into this war. They don't want to fight Russia alone. Yeah. So with this penetration, they're egging Putin on to use nuclear weapons. And he's already said he's not just going to consider himself limited to Ukraine. There's a base in Poland that we had destroyed in one of the simulations we run on our app, because that's a key base in Poland for the F-16s and supplying so much NATO aid into Ukraine. And Putin has made it absolutely clear: if you keep supplying NATO weapons to Ukraine that are fired into Russia, you're at war with us, and we're going to use nuclear weapons against you. And he's been warning that. He also warned us for years before he invaded Ukraine. If NATO doesn't stay out of Ukraine and stop threatening, even planning to move them, we will attack. We will take action, and they have. So Putin is going to use nuclear weapons against Ukraine. I'm 80% sure of that. It's just a question of the timing. Does he do it now because of the embarrassment of Ukrainian forces moving into the Kursk region? Does he wait until the November, January time period when the U.S. is going to be divided, potentially in a civil war? We've told our staff members no vacation from November to January. It's going to be a really bad period of security for the United States. Too much chance something could happen.
If he does detonate one in Ukraine or somewhere, what do you think the U.S. response will be?
The U.S. response initially, I think, will be nothing. The problem is that the NATO countries are going to be urging the U.S. to start immediately launch their goal. The goal of Germany and Poland and everyone else is they want us to attack Russia directly, so the nukes fly over them. They're okay, and we take the brunt of the damage to force Russia to back down. And that's been NATO doctrine for a long time. Again, my PhD dissertation at Harvard was underground nuclear defense shelters and field fortifications for NATO troops. The smart way for us to use nuclear weapons is in a limited manner on the battlefield. The last thing in the world we want is nuclear weapons flying between Moscow and Washington, D.C. Well, maybe not Washington, D.C., but other parts of the U.S.
Yeah.
And that's exactly NATO doctrine. They reject limited nuclear war. They threaten massive escalation to strategic nuclear exchanges. And for politicians, no politicians in the U.S. have the honesty and putting U.S. interests first to argue that, no, we're not going to go to nuclear war for Taiwan. We're not going to go to nuclear war with attacks on the U.S. for Ukraine or Poland or even Germany. Fight it locally. Blow up the Soviets with nuclear weapons on the battlefield. That's the smart way from our perspective. But then you say, oh, you're talking about making nuclear weapons usable. What an evil person you are. And I'm saying, well, I may be evil, but I'm using them defensively in response to an attacker. And I'm trying to avoid nuclear weapons going off in the United States. But our politicians, the objective is winning votes and re-election, not doing what's best for the American people, in my opinion.
Sure. Yep. All right, Drew. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate you coming up here. And it sounds like you got a pretty cool membership thing going on there with Fortitude Ranch. What is the process if somebody wants to come and do this? And they've looked at the website and they think they want to join. What do they need to do?
They email us. Our email address is on the website. Then we'll put them in touch with the sales associate for the Fortitude Ranch location they're interested in. Answer questions over the phone, and then if you're interested, set up a tour.
And they come out and set up a tour, and then you just kind of write the checks and all that, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah, after the tour's done, if you still want to join, we can sign up you for membership.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you, sir, for coming out. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And thank you for spreading the word about preparedness. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks.